Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to Write It Right, session number 9, and one before the last. We got some questions. Um, I'll be here. I'll be waiting, like after the session, I'll be here on Zoom. Okay, so we'll just go quickly over what we have done already before. Today, we're going to look at essay types. We continue essay types. Last time, we talked about writing as a process, and we were looking at writing short essays for classes for students in high school. And we said that the first step is to write or to pick a topic that you are interested in, you know more about. Stage 2, you brainstorm ideas, then you write the outline. Moving on, you go to writing the essay. So you start your first draft, and then you review and revise, and you review and revise. Reviewing for the ideas, revising is for the grammar and punctuation and structure. Then you submit the work you've done. Also, we talked about the different types of brainstorming, and we mentioned that there is clustering, this way where you draw a circle in the middle and you start generating ideas. And then the second type was listing, to write a list about a list of ideas about the topic. Then free writing is just to write freely what comes to your mind. Also, we covered the types of the most important types of essays, which is argumentative, expository, narrative, and descriptive. And if you wanted to look at the details of that, you can go back to the previous sessions. And we looked at the expository essay, and we mentioned that it just mentions facts. So it doesn't go into proving a point. One of you guys asked me to speak in Arabic, so I'll be speaking a little bit of Arabic here and there. So expository essay is focuses more on mentioning the facts. So you don't need to say "I think" or "this should happen." You just list facts that are important about the topic. And also, we mentioned that usually you find words like "explain" or words like "state" or words like sometimes you can get a descriptive essay. And because we mentioned before that expository essay includes descriptive essays, and these are the essays that focuses on um, describing a person, place, experience, or situation, a process, how to do something, including how to cook something or how to create something, including cars or writing a draft, maybe. Excuse me. Also, a comparison essay is part of the expository essays, or a type of the expository writing. Cause and effect is another type, and problem solution is another type. We'll be looking at these today and the structure of each. So just hang tight. Now, this is a structure that can be used for any essay. Okay, you start with presenting your topic, then you give background or provide background information about your topic, and then the last sentence usually of the introduction is your thesis statement. A thesis statement is more used with argumentative essay, but sometimes you just need to list or outline the ideas that you will be discussing in the body in the last sentence in the introduction. Then you move to the body, and in the body you must have sorry, you must focus on the core arguments or analysis. You present evidence or quotes or explanations. Also, you need to mention or use one paragraph for each point. So we start with, all right, just give me a second here. Mhm. Okay, so we mentioned that each paragraph should start with a topic sentence, and a topic sentence is the sentence that outlines what you will be discussing in the paragraph. Okay, once you finish this idea, once you finish discussing this idea, you will move to a different idea, another idea, and then another paragraph. Okay, um, each paragraph starts with a topic sentence, and we will have a discussion on the difference between topic sentences and thesis statement. And all paragraphs must relate to your thesis, because this if you have all the paragraphs, all the ideas connected to the thesis statement. This shows that your paragraph has unity, it is coherent, and it is cohesive. In the conclusion, you just tie together your main points, and then you show your argument, why your argument matters. Excuse me. So far, so good. Any questions so far? Okay, so this is a new part and our new slide, and here we talk about the order of information in essay. لما بتكتب أي essay لازم يبقى فيه ترتيب للinformation، فما ينفعش تبدأ ب very important piece, then less important, then more important. There should be an order, okay? The order can be based on the importance. فممكن نبدأ ب very very important or extremely important, important, less important, or it can be a chronological order. So you can look at most recent events and then you go back in dates, or sometimes you mention the most or the oldest event. Could you please, guys, unmute yourself? One second here. Mohammed Faiz, could you please mute yourself, sir? So again, here we mentioned that the body of a good argumentative essay often begins with a simple and widely accepted claims. Now we're talking about an argumentative essay. So for example, if I wanted to talk about the impact of pollution on our life, okay? When I start, I should go with, we agree that pollution is harmful, right? Then I go to another statement or another argument which explains more how this is harmful. So I could say that, for example, air pollution affects water cycle. Then air pollution affects the amount of precipitation maybe in a city. So now I'm taking you from the common or simple argument, telling you that we agree that it's dangerous for our life, and then I go into more complex arguments. Okay, so your argument should move from the simplest claim to the most complex. Also, you need to have your background information in the top, in the beginning of your writing of your essay. Let's have this example. Let's discuss this example. Now, I look at a picture and I see that there are people in this picture and there is a scene. So let me describe it to you. So I could see, or I can see, people on a beach, okay? It is sunny, people are happy, and kids are playing, okay? Now, this is the correct order. I started by giving you the background of the picture. They are on the beach and it's a sunny day, right? Then I went into details mentioning that the kids are happy and everybody is enjoying themselves. Imagine if I tell you, or if I start with, the kids are playing. I didn't tell you where. I didn't tell you if it is a sunny day or a rainy day. And then I move to the background. It's not going to work this way. So you need to mention the background first, the background of in your essay, and then move into the details. Okay, so usually or generally we mention all our background information in the first paragraph, which is the introduction. If we have more of details or background information, you could use it, or you can list it in the very beginning of your body, which is the body paragraph number 1. And we will be looking at how or why we should list them in the first body paragraph. Okay, moving on. The last tip here is everything in your essay should be relevant to the thesis. So again, everything should be connected to the thesis statement. If you're writing about the causes of pollution, you could write anything that is related to causes of pollution, but I don't expect you to write that about the benefits of exercising in releasing stress or relieving stress. So you can't write about this. In this case, it will be a relevant statement. Okay, now I'd like you to type in the chat box, what's the difference between thesis statement and the topic sentence? We've studied this already, and I'd like to hear from you. If you're willing to speak up, you can raise your hand. I'll give you permission, then you can talk. Sometimes people just confuse a thesis statement with a topic sentence. All right, go ahead, Amani.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I think there is one thesis sentence for the whole essay. Okay, it's conclude what we will talk about in the whole essay. Okay,
Does it conclude
summarize.
or outline?
Yeah,
Mhm.
but the topic sentence, there is a topic sentence for each paragraph. The
Perfect.
topic sentence, yeah, tell the reader what will we talk about in each paragraph. Each idea is concluded in the topic sentence.
Perfect.
Sentence.
That's perfect, Amani. So thank you so much, Amani, for sharing your ideas. Now,
Thanks.
I'd like to ask another question. Which one is more general? Is it the thesis statement or the topic sentence? And let me read the answers here. Um, Hassan says topic sentence is the first sentence. That's correct. The first sentence of a paragraph, Hassan, right? Then we have Manal says the thesis is the main idea of the whole essay, but the topic is for each paragraph, or each paragraph has one. That's correct. Right. So thesis, yeah, what's the answer for that, Hassan? So anyone is willing to share which one is more okay? Is it the answer for the general? I guess now I got it. So thesis is more general, as Hassan mentioned here, right? Can someone explain how, in what way it's more general? We have a small number today, and it's a great opportunity that you guys share your ideas. We can talk and listen. I'm really interested in listening to you guys. Anyone willing to give it a shot? Rimon, are you willing to participate? Okay. Excuse me. So as we mentioned, and you guys mentioned here, thesis statement is the main point of the whole essay, and it is usually found at the end of the introduction. While a topic sentence is the main point of a paragraph, and it is usually exists, or you could usually find it in the very beginning of a paragraph. So Amani says here, because it gives us all the ideas which will be included in the essay. That's perfectly correct. Manal says thesis is general as it deals with more than one point of view. That's correct. If you're looking at different points of view in an argumentative essay, this would be included as well. That's perfect. Thank you. Topic has only one idea, right? A topic sentence is made of a topic and the controlling idea. So the topic is Cairo, and the controlling idea is a beautiful city. Cairo is a beautiful city. Now, this is a topic sentence, and it just focuses on one piece, one idea. In the details, you would be listing how it is a beautiful city. Maybe you could write about sightseeing, you could write about the weather, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, there are full sentences. Both of them are full sentences that communicate full ideas, both of them, and they should state or show rather than announce the main idea. We mentioned before that you should avoid words like this essay will discuss, or this essay will talk about, or this section will analyze. Avoid these. Just write the idea. Write the topic and the controlling idea for a topic sentence, or write the main focus of your essay in the thesis statement. They should not be too broad or too narrow, and we talked about how to choose them. For example, here, learning a new language is good. This is very general, very, very broad. And for the second sentence we have here, learning Spanish is Spanish in high. I learned Spanish in high school. This is too narrow. again, this is going to be based on the scope of the essay, and if you're writing this essay for high school or if you're writing this essay for a university class. Okay. Thesis general deals with more than one point of view. That's right. Topic has only one. That's correct, Manal. Now we will look at different structures of different essays. We'll spend some time here because if you manage to understand how the structures work, you will be okay and you won't have any problem in writing. So an argumentative essay starts with a hook, okay? And I got a question about, does all does all essays start with a hook? Can you please type the answer? Does all essay types in IELTS, in the university, in classes, do all of them include a hook? Answers? You can raise your hand. You can also type your answer. Do all essay types include a hook or not? Hassan says no. Okay. Uh, if you're okay with typing, go ahead and type the Y. If not, and you want to talk, you can go and unmute yourself and tell us why they don't have hooks. So the question here, Iman, do all essay types in universities, in classes, in high school, in standardized tests include hooks? Should we include a hook in all of these types? Or some types do not usually have hooks? That's the question. We got Amani. Go ahead, Amani.
I think it's not related to the types of essays. It's related to who we will write the essay to, and the reason behind writing this essay. What I mean is that when I write an essay in an exam, I don't need to write a hook because the examiner already pay the whole attention for me to correct my essay. But if I write my essay to in general for people to read, I should write a hook to make it to hook their attention to my piece of writing. That's what I think.
That's perfect answer. I like your answer. Thank you so much, Amani. And
Thanks.
I'd like to hear other voices. I'd like to hear other opinions. And let me read here what we got. Um, Salwa says it's preferred, but not a must in all essay types. And Adil said yes to grab the reader's attention. So, any more ideas? Any other ideas? Do you agree or disagree that hooks should be included in essay types? In all essay types. Let's be precise. No, but it's very important if you want to grab the attention of your reader. This is Asir or Asir. I'm sorry if you don't mind, you can correct my pronunciation. Okay, thank you. So let me, in essays about facts doesn't need hooks. Manal says that. Okay, thank you, Manal, for participating. Yeah. So let me tell you what I think. I think it's related. It goes back to the audience. So if your audience is someone who already knows that you're writing for them, okay, like this is very specific. If you're writing to your professor in the university, okay, or if you're writing to what do you call it? If you're writing to you're an author, maybe if you're writing specific things to specific people to read, or editor, then you don't need to write hooks, okay? But for us as teachers, if you wanted to teach your students, you need to include a hook. You need to tell them that it's important to have a hook because this will help attract the attention of the reader. In standardized tests like IELTS or CELPIP or CAN test, we usually don't ask students to write hooks, okay? And the hook, or the very big, in the first sentence will be, the very first sentence will be a paraphrase of the prompt. And you guys could have heard that you paraphrase the question again in the first sentence, okay? So you can include it or not. It depends on the audience type. So going back to the answers, sorry, going back here to the argumentative essay structure, you start with a hook, then you write background information on the topic, then you write a statement of your position of the topic, which is your thesis statement. And here you tell people what you think, okay? Then after that, you go to the body, and the body doesn't have a specific number of paragraphs. We teach students, maybe in grade 6 or 7 in international schools, to write an essay of 4 paragraphs. One body, one introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. When they are, in higher grades, like grade 9, 10, then they start writing 5 paragraph essays. Excuse me. If they are in the university, there is no specific number. يعني لما يكون في assignment بنديه لطالب هنا ما بقولوش اكتب 5 essay paragraphs. It's up to them. It's up to them to choose the number of paragraphs, because at the end of the day, they need to convince the reader if it is an argumentative essay. So in the first line or the first body paragraph, you write a topic sentence which outlines the first argument. Then you write or you give explanation and provide evidence to support this topic sentence. And then you go to the last point of your paragraph, which is concluding sentence or transitioning sentence, which links to the next paragraph. Then this happens again in the second body paragraph. And if you have more than that, you can just follow the same structure, okay? And again, it depends on who you're teaching or who you're submitting your work for, okay? Then you go to the conclusion, and the conclusion is a summary of the main points of the body. Then you restate the position. You restate why you think fast food is bad, or why you think the government should pay schools, more money to improve the infrastructure or to buy new, furniture, maybe. Okay, so again, this will be different when we go to the next types. Just keep this in mind, and I'll send you the PowerPoint so you can just refer to it whenever you need. Now, this is an essay structure, which is a different type, which is a compare and contrast essay. And a compare and contrast essay is usually when we have 2 topics or 2 cities or 2 places, and we want to compare them. A compare means mentioning similarities, and contrast means mentioning differences. And here ممكن يجي لك أكتر من نوع. ممكن يقول لك compare only، يعني تعمل comparison، يعني تتكلم عن similarities بس، أو contrast only، فبيتكلم هنا فيها عن differences بس. أو ممكن يقول compare and contrast. طب ليه ايه اللي هيختلف؟ اللي هيختلف معايا body paragraphs and how we list similarities and differences. طبعا in the beginning we have background information on the topic, which includes a hook if you need it. Then you have an outline of 2 or more things being compared or contrasted. Generally we have 2 things or 2 people or 2 places to compare. يعني يقول مثلا compare between life in the city and life in the village. Or compare between Canada and the United States. يعني بنتكلم عن 2 places, okay? Generally. طيب, after that, you mentioned the purpose for making the comparison or contrast. And this depends on the task. Sometimes the teacher or the professor would ask you, compare and contrast between life in the city and life in the village, and tell me which one you prefer. فهنا, this would be the purpose. You're comparing and contrasting in order to show which one you prefer, okay? Then number 4, which will be in the place of the thesis statement in the argumentative essay. This will be an overview of the specific points that you will be comparing and contrasting. Again, if you're writing a compare only, then you'll be focusing on similarities. You'll see that maybe you'll say that life in the city is similar to life in the village in services, number of population, maybe, and education level, maybe. Okay, if you're contrasting, you'll list them this way. If it is a compare and contrast, you would say that life in the city is similar to life in the village in these points. However, it's different in these points. Okay. Again, this depends on the type of the essay you are writing. Okay, so far so good. Now we go to the body, and we start with a paragraph one, and this will also include the topic sentence that outlines the first similarity or difference. Then the second sentence will be a group of sentences giving explanation and providing evidence to support how they are similar or different. If you say, for example, that life in the city is similar to life in the village in the quality of life, okay, this is a statement, this is a topic, this will be a claim. Now you need to support that. You need to give more details on how it is, how they are similar. Okay. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Concluding sentence or linking sentence. That's what we have at the end. Now, if we have compare and contrast, you have the option to write two paragraphs about similarities and one paragraph about differences, or two paragraphs about differences and one paragraph about similarities, based on the number of ideas or the number of paragraphs you want to include. Yani, if you have 5 body paragraphs and you have two similarities, write them in the beginning, then write the difference at the end in a paragraph. Or if you have two differences, write two differences and then one similarity at the end. Here the conclusion is a little bit different, because here you state the main purpose of the comparing and contrasting. You're comparing and contrasting the life in the city and the life in the village to show which one is better, or to tell people, or to urge people, or to ask people to go and live in the village or the city. Then you summarize the main similarities and differences. The summary here, it's there is a tip. If you look at the last sentence of your introduction and the first sentence of each body paragraph, these are the points that you should include in your summary. Technically, they are the same. So here you mentioned that they are similar in the quality of life, education, and services. Here you talked about quality of life. Here you talked about services, and here you talked about the third point. You'll need to mention these again here in the summary, but using different words. Paraphrase it. Okay. Now, number 3, you go to a recommendation, and this also depends on if it is part of the task or not. Okay, so you could write recommendations about the suitability of the comparing and contrasted item for the purpose. Meaning, if I ask you to tell me which place would you prefer to live in, the city or the village, and then you started mentioning that the city is bad because it has pollution, it's overcrowded, blah blah blah. You couldn't come at the end and tell me that I prefer to live in the city. Okay, you need to mention reasons that are relevant to that. Then the overall conclusion could be a general statement that's saying that maybe you could say that although life in the city is different from life in the village, people are happy in both places, maybe, or people are satisfied by living in both of these places. All right. So this is the structure of comparing and contrasting essay. And again, you could have one type. It could be comparing only, could be contrasting only, or it could be together, comparing and contrasting. All right. I'll speak a little bit now to complete these types, and then we will have an activity. The third type here is a problem solution essay, and it's a very important type of essays that you guys would ask your students to write, or if you are a university student, you would have this type, excuse me, this type of essay as an assignment. And again, it is made of introduction, body, and conclusion. The introduction gives background information on the problem. Generally, you focus on the problem in the first 2 paragraphs, then you go to the solutions in the third body paragraph, and so on. So again, this can depend on the task. Sometimes it could be an expository essay, and they ask you to discuss the problem of, let's say, education in Egypt. Now, we don't want you to give any solutions. We just want you to discuss the problem from different sides. So in the body paragraphs, you will look at the side of the teachers. Then the second body paragraph, you look at the side of the school. Then the third body paragraph, the family and how they respond, or uh, how they cooperate with the school. Okay. Sometimes it's generally looking at solutions. So you will mention your problem in one body paragraph briefly, then you start listing your solutions. Sometimes you prefer just to mention the background of the problem in the introduction, and then list solution one, solution two, three, and four in the body paragraphs. It's up to you, and it's up to the person who assigned the task. So if you are a teacher, you could give your students this structure. Tell them, write one body paragraph about the problem, explain it, why it is a serious problem, then go to the second paragraph and so on, and give me solutions. Or you could ask them to write about the problem in the introduction and then list the solutions in the body paragraphs. Here, this is the structure, or this formatting shows you that you describe the problem and why it's serious in the introduction. Then you overview the solution that could be outlined. So you mentioned that although the problem of education in Egypt is so serious, we have four solutions, or four potential solutions. Then moving on to the body, we have one solution for each body paragraph. Here, the topic sentence will outline the first solution, then you explain the positives and negatives of each solution. We need also to make sure that this is an expository essay. So it is not an argumentative essay. It's not an opinion essay. So we need to list both sides. So you tell people that, yeah, if you give money to the teachers, this will be a solution to the problem, but there will be a negative here. If you give money without training, this will not solve the problem, because teacher will still do the same thing, right? So you need to give them money plus training, okay? Or you need to give teachers money, then stop private tutoring, maybe. So you need to discuss the point or the solution from both sides. Then give evidence to support your argument, or sorry, your explanation. This is not an argument, this is an explanation. And then you conclude with a sentence. This just wraps up this solution. Or you could also make it a transitioning sentence by telling the reader that this is not the only solution, and you will have other solutions in the coming paragraphs. Now, for the conclusion, we have a summary of the problem, an overview of the solution. Just quickly tell people how dangerous or how serious the problem is, and then tell them about the solutions you offer. You could evaluate the solution and recommend one of them, but you're not defending it. You're just mentioning that generally these are three good solutions to solve the problem, and this one is recommended, or this one, based on the evidence or based on the statements we had, is the best one. Okay. Excuse me. You guys have any questions so far? Okay. Now, cause and effect essay. I'd like you to type in the chat box, what do you expect to find in the introduction of a cause and effect essay? Just type titles, hook, maybe background information. Type this in your chat box. If you wanted to speak, you can raise your hand. I'll give you the chance, and you can speak up. Amani says the first sentence would be a hook. Okay, right. What about the second and third? Yeah, we're looking at the introduction. An introduction of a cause and effect essay. Would it be different from an introduction of an compare and contrast essay or argumentative essay? hook background causes and effect thesis. Right. So hook background information, and then you outline the causes and effects. Is this what you mean, Manal? That's perfect. That's right. All right. Let's take a look at what we have here. You start with the background information on the situation, and this can include a hook for sure. Then you give a description of the situation, and this can be looking at the causes or effects. For this type, you could be asked to write about the causes of pollution only, or the effects of pollution only. Or you could be asked to write about causes and effects of pollution. In this case, you will be giving a general overview of the causes and the effects. You could talk about why it's a problem, maybe. Okay. One of the topics that is very popular these days is global warming. So causes of global warming. Now the whole country, the whole world is hit by heat waves now, and there are villages in Canada that are got burned down because of the heat, and in the states too. And I think people in the Middle East are experiencing increasing in the temperature. So you might be asked to write about the causes of global warming. So in this case, or in this essay, you'll be focusing on the causes only. But here in the background, you could give a little bit of the effects on our life as well. If it is cause and effect, you will write on both sides, and then the last sentence will be your causes and effects. Okay, the causes and effects in on sorry, the causes and effects of global warming. I'm sorry because I'm looking at different screens here. Sometimes I just get confused. Now, let's look at the answer. Ahmed says, well, I think the beginning we need to explain the problem or the issue in hand through the thesis statement and maybe the hook. Okay, that's good. Consequently, readers are gonna anticipate the gist of the topic, which is explained causes and effects. That's perfect. And here is another piece, Ahmed, looking at the last sentence, which acts as a thesis statement. We have two different types. So you could uh, mention the causes directly. So you could say that there are three causes or two causes, or you could mention them indirectly. Directly by mentioning them. Causes, global warming is a result of pollution, you know, negligence or negligence in dealing with recyclable material, maybe. So you're just mentioning these causes, okay? Or you could also write that it's the pollution is the reason, or sorry, is a result of excuse me, I'm not feeling well today. So you could also just mention that it's a result of two reasons, or sorry, of two things or two factors. And your answer is perfectly fine. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you so much. Now, moving on to the body paragraph, we have body paragraph one, and here you write a topic sentence that outlines the first cause or effect. So if you're writing about both causes and effects, again, you write one paragraph about cause one, another paragraph about cause two, and then a third paragraph about effect. Or you could write one cause, two effects. If you're writing about effects only, you will be writing one paragraph about effect and another paragraph about effect two. Or if you're writing about causes, it will be cause one, cause two. Right? Then you write sentences that give explanations and provide evidence to support the topic sentence, and then you conclude with a last sentence or a concluding sentence or a linking sentence. Moving on to the conclusion, you summarize the main points you had, and then you go to your conclusion, which is a prediction or recommendation. So you predict that by 2030, they say that temperature will go up to 50 in the United States and Canada. So this can be related to the topic of global warming. All right. Now, let's take a break. Let's take a break and we will watch two videos about combining sentences. And then we'll go back and look at how we can combine these sentences and we'll have an activity. All right? Let me stop this here. and get this video ready. Some of you might have watched this before. I think it's beneficial, so we will watch it one more time. Okay. Just type yes if you can hear it.
Good writing needs to be more than just grammatically correct. A successful essay needs...
Do you guys hear it? Perfect. All right, let me play it again.
Grammatically correct. A successful essay needs range and style and variety. So a good way and a simple way to achieve that is just by varying the length and style of the sentences you use in your essays and paragraphs. Now, although students sometimes think that there are way too many different kinds of sentences in the English language, every sentence you write actually falls into one of 4 categories. And I would like to talk about the first 2 types of sentences right now. Now, the first kind is what we call the simple sentence. A simple sentence has a subject, a verb, and is one complete idea. For example, Tony flew to Toronto. Now, it's important to know that a simple sentence can also have a compound subject. For example, Tony and Janet flew to Toronto. Now, although there are 2 subjects there, you've still maintained one complete idea, and therefore it's still a simple sentence. Similarly, a simple sentence can also have a compound verb, or 2 verbs. In this case, Tony flew to Toronto and visited some friends. And again, although there are 2 verbs in this sentence, there is one subject, and it is really one complete thought, and is therefore a simple sentence. Now, the second kind of sentence in the English language is called the compound sentence. And it's called a compound sentence because it is when you take 2 simple sentences or 2 independent clauses and connect them to make one smooth sentence. Now, there are 3 different ways to do that. Option 1, to make a compound sentence, is by using a coordinating conjunction with a comma. So when I say coordinating conjunction, I mean and, but, or, so, for, yet, or nor. If you use a comma plus one of these 7 words to connect 2 simple sentences, you've got a compound sentence. For example, I had a very long day, so I'm going to bed. Or, a promotion at work can come with stress of added responsibilities, but it can also be very rewarding. So that's option 1. Option 2 is simply using a semicolon to connect your 2 ideas. Rather than using a conjunction, you can use the semicolon to show the relationship between 2 independent clauses. For example, I've washed the dishes every day this week, semicolon, today it is your turn. Or, the storm was very destructive, semicolon, many people lost their homes. Now, it's clear when you're looking at these 2 sentences that the semicolon represents a cause and effect relationship between the 2 sentences. Be careful not to use the semicolon to show contrast, because it could confuse the reader. If you look at this sentence, the team has very devoted fans, semicolon, they never win. Now, in this case, the meaning is unclear, and the connection between the 2 is unclear and could confuse the reader. So I would avoid that. Now, the third option for making a compound sentence is using a semicolon with a word that we call a conjunctive adverb. Now, by conjunctive adverb, I mean a word like therefore, however, as a result, consequently, and so on. Now, if you use a semicolon with that, one of these words, you make a compound sentence. For example, Jason passed the exam, however, he is not completely satisfied with his test results. Or, many people lost their homes in the storm, therefore, they were forced to rebuild. Now, just to sum up, there are 3 different ways to make a compound sentence. Now, look at these 3 examples that all have the same meaning. Tim missed the beginning of the movie, so I had to explain the story to him. Tim missed the beginning of the movie, semicolon, I had to explain the story to him. And Tim missed the beginning of the movie, therefore, I had to explain the story to him. So those are the first two of the four kinds of sentences in English. For practice, and for part 2 of this video, follow the link.
All right. So I'd like to ask you guys, are you willing to watch the second part? Because this is part of our lesson today, or we go and do an exercise first? So democratic. Just type in the chat box or let me know. Exercise first. Okay, we will go for that. Absolutely. All right, let's do this here. Okay. Now, as you guys heard, we have three different types of sentence structure. First one is a simple sentence, and it should include a subject and a verb and a complete meaning. Without one of these, it would not be an independent clause. All right, could you please, guys, mute yourself? Thank you. So the train was late. The train is a subject and was the verb, and it has a complete meaning. Sometimes we could find a compound subject, which is two words, or a compound verb, which is two verbs. So we could see, for example, Mary and Sam cooked and ate dinner together at home. This is still one simple sentence. Although we have two subjects and we have two verbs, we call this subject a compound subject, and we call this verb a compound verb. In order to join them and make a compound sentence, you could use a comma, semicolon, or semicolon and then a conjunctive adverb. For a comma and a fanboy, or a coordinated conjunction, we have for and nor, but, or yet, and these are the screen doesn't show anything. Okay, just 1 second. I am sorry. Okay. All right. Okay. This one here. What about now? Can you see it?
Yes, clear.
Perfect. So we just mentioned that we have a compound sentence, a simple sentence, and in simple sentences, sometimes we have one subject and one verb, but it must have a complete meaning, like this one. Joe waited for the train. Joe is the subject, waited is the verb, and this sentence has a complete meaning. That's why we call it an independent clause or a simple sentence. Sometimes you have two verbs like Mary and Sam, two subjects like Mary and Sam, and two verbs like cooked and ate, but still this is considered to be a simple sentence because we call this a compound subject and this is a compound verb. We looked also at excuse me, how to join two simple sentences to make or to create a compound sentence. And we could use a comma and one of the fanboys for and nor, but, or yet, or so. Or you could use a semicolon, or you could use a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb, such as therefore, furthermore, however, in contrast, and for example. Should we all time use a semicolon before an adverb and a comma after? Yep, we will have this in detail right now. Just give me a second. Here, when we look at a conjunctive adverb, and this is the question of Manal, it's a word or phrase that indicates the relationship between clauses it joins, but it's weightier, it's heavier, or it's more emphatic than a conjunction. So a conjunction adverb specifies one of the following relations. Why do we add a semicolon before it? And why do we add a comma after it? Because if you have these two sentences as separate sentences, okay, and you have, for example, the general had complete confidence in his soldier training, full stop. Furthermore, comma, he considered his battle plan a work of genius. We added the comma after furthermore because it's not a part of the sentence. This is an extra word to the sentence. If furthermore, or if the conjunction is part of the sentence will be a dependent clause. For example, if you look at the word, when I eat my lunch, when is a part of the sentence. That's why we did not use a comma after when, all right? Now, so the conjunctive adverbs, they can be used to to express addition, like besides, furthermore, moreover, or in addition, like this example here. Sometimes we use them to show likeness, and these are words like likewise, similarly, or in the same way. So many young Englishmen condemned the English war against France in the 1790s. Likewise, many young Americans condemned the American war against Vietnam in 1960s. Likewise. Sometimes we use it to show contrast between the two ideas. Words like however, nevertheless, still, nonetheless, conversely, otherwise, instead, in contrast, or in the other hand. It's super important to use these conjunctive adverbs in your writing because it shows the reader that you can express yourself in different ways, or you have a variety of vocabulary, and also you can use different structures to express the same idea. So we have this example here which shows contrast. The engineer said the bridge was now safe. However, no one would want to risk crossing it. Moving to cause and effect, you could use words like accordingly, consequently, hence, therefore, as a result, or for this reason. Then Carl spent too many nights going to parties this first semester in college. For this reason, he missed more classes than he should have. So we use a semicolon before it and a comma after it. Means and ends, which means results, or looking at results, we could use thus, thereby, by this means, and in this manner. When the guinea pigs came listless, we took them to the doctor. Thus, we were able to stop their illness before it became too grave. What kind of sentence is this? Is this a compound sentence? Yeah, if you wanted to split out the sentences, you would have changed the semicolon with a full stop. That's right. Or sometimes you could use one of the fanboys. You could say, and therefore. If you use and, you would not use a semicolon. You would use a comma. So, for example, in this sentence, or the one for therefore, we have one here, therefore, yeah, or thus. Okay, when let's say, look at that. Look at this section here. We took them to the doctor, and thus we were able to stop. If you use and here, you would change the semicolon into a comma. If you want to split them, you would use a full stop here instead of the semicolon. Okay, now look at this sentence. Is this a compound sentence or a different type? When our guinea pigs became listless, we took them to the doctor. Thus, we were able to stop their illness before it became too grave. It became too grave. Manel, the first part is complex, right? When our guinea pigs became listless, we took them to the doctor. Perfect. Complex, and then we added another part or another sentence, which is a compound, right? The first part is complex, and then we added another simple sentence. Then we have a compound complex sentence. Perfect, Asma. That's perfect. A compound and complex sentence, it's made of two main clauses, or two independent clauses and one dependent clause. Perfect, perfect, Amani. Your answers are correct. Now, because we have this part, when our guinea pigs became listless, this makes it compound complex. But we just wanted to explain how to use conjunctive adverbs. All right. Thank you so much. Now moving to another reason or another way of using conjunctive adverbs is to reinforce. So you could use it with words like for they are words like for example, for instance, in fact, in particular, or indeed. My son hates T-ball, semicolon. In fact, he hates it so much that he walked from the third base during his last game of the season. You could use it to express time or to show time relation. Meanwhile, then, subsequently, after, earlier, and later. We went to the Vodou Museum, semicolon, afterward, comma. We went to a cemetery and found the grave of Marie Laveau. So this is also another way to use a conjunctive adverb to show time relation. I had this question last time. Not last time. In one of the sessions, one of you guys asked, how can we punctuate that is why? I did a little bit of research. So you could punctuate it in one of these ways. You could use and in this case, you would say, I want to be involved in town government, and that is why I'm running for mayor. Or I will reach, okay, the past screen, this one. You couldn't see it? Asma, could you see the screen now?
Nothing appears to me.
Okay, let me end this sharing and then share it one more time. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
You can see now? Perfect.
Yes, clearly.
Thank you. Now, moving on, this question. The question was, how can we punctuate that is why? So you could use and before that is why, and then you use a comma before and. Could you please, guys, mute yourself? I'm sorry. Just make sure your phone is muted. Thank you. Now, or another way is to just use a semicolon, and this semicolon here is used instead of the word and. So you could say, my mother always gives me good advice, semicolon. That is why I need to ask her opinion. Another way, just use and you add a little bit of, you add a sentence here, I think, and then you continue or you complete your sentence. This last movie was terrible, and I think that is why his career has stalled in recent years. Sorry, kids are playing outside. Anyways, now let's do this activity together. I will send the PDFs once the session is done. We will send everything for you. Now, I'd like you to try to combine these sentences to create a compound sentence using different words. We will only do one sentence because we're out of time. We still have stuff to do. Okay. So one sentence. A small kitten followed me home. I give it a bowl of milk. How can we combine these two sentences to make a compound sentence? In different ways. You could use and. Perfect. Could you use another way, like maybe you could use a comma, so, right? Okay. Could you use a conjunctive adverb? And, comma, and. Perfect. Semicolon. That's right, Salwa. Any other ideas? That is why. Perfect, Ahmed. That's correct. Perfect. All right. So without further ado, and that is why. Perfect, Ahmed. That's perfect. Okay. What about number 2? We were lost in the woods. My brother had a map in his pocket. Yeah, Amani, your sentence is correct, but you need to look at the punctuation. So you could use semicolon before it in order to show that. Although would not be a compound sentence, it would be a complex sentence, Salwa. However is correct. Although would be a complex sentence. However is correct. However is correct. However is correct, and but is correct. Perfect. You're doing a great job. I'll send the rest in the in the group so we can do this as an assignment. Now we will look at combining sentences to create a complex sentence. So a complex sentence is made of one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. Despite the fact that, Ahmed, yes, could you tell me how you would punctuate that? So subordinating back to complex sentence. It's made of one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. A subordinating conjunction usually comes at the beginning. A subordinating conjunction usually comes at the beginning of the dependent clause. When, although, because, after, and until. And these are parts of the sentence. So we don't use a comma after them. Now we could know, you could differentiate between coordinating and subordinating. Subordinating conjunctions, we either use a comma before them or after them, but for subordinating conjunctions, we don't use comma after them or before them. So if the sentence starts with when, I will not use comma after the word when. If when is in the middle, I will not use a comma before when. Okay? Now let's watch this video together. And this is part 2. All right, Ahmed, I'll show you after this video. I'm sorry, I know I'm a bit hasty today, but we have to cover this because we've been postponing it for a while now. Okay, so let's watch this video together.
Okay, let's continue on with the 4 types of sentences in English. The third type of sentence is what we call the complex sentence. Now, we've already talked about compound sentences, which are 2 independent clauses or 2 complete ideas connected together. A complex sentence is different because it's made up of 1 independent clause or 1 complete idea and 1 or more dependent clauses. Now, by a dependent clause, I mean a group of words that have a subject and a verb, but alone are incomplete. Let me give you an example of a dependent clause. So, when I was walking home from school. Now, alone, that is incomplete and needs to be attached to an independent clause in order to make sense. Anytime you start a clause or a sentence with a subordinating conjunction, like when, or although, because, if, or until, you're creating a dependent clause. Okay, so let me show you an example of a complex sentence. When I was walking home from school, I slipped and fell on the ice. All right, now that is complete. One other example. Because Kevin had limited experience, the company was hesitant to hire him. Now again, because Kevin had limited experience is the dependent clause, and the second part, the company was hesitant to hire him, is independent because that is a complete idea. Now you should also note that with the complex sentence, the order of the clauses can be flipped, can be inverted. So you could also say, the company was hesitant to hire Kevin because he had limited experience. The only difference is, if you begin with the dependent clause, it has to be followed by a comma. Whereas if you start the sentence with the independent clause, no comma is necessary, generally speaking. All right, and the 4th kind of sentence in the English language is something we call compound complex, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is a compound sentence and a complex sentence connected together. So it needs at least 2 independent clauses and 1 or more dependent clauses. So let me show you how we make one. Here is a compound sentence. Children can be influenced by what they see, therefore it is important for parents to communicate with their children about the programs they watch. So that's compound. Let me show you complex. When young people are exposed to violence on television, they can be influenced by what they see. Now both of these sentences are connected, are related. So I'm going to put them together to make one sentence. and this is how I do it. When young people are exposed to violence on television, they can be influenced by what they see. Therefore, it is important for parents to communicate with their children about the programs they watch. Now that seems long, but really it's just 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause, okay? So it's important to remember that having too many short, simple sentences or having too many long, complicated sentences could both be problematic. So it's really important to vary the number of complex, simple, or compound sentences that you use in your paragraphs. So for more practice with the 4 types of sentences, follow the link at the end of this video.
All right, folks. Share the link for this video and for the channel once we are done. Okay. All right. Let's get back to what we're doing. Could you guys see the screen now?
Yes, clear.
Yeah. Could you see the slides combining sentences?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So now again, these are some types of the subordinated conjunctions, and they are as if, because, since, although, even though, when, while, until, unless, where, and that. So this is an example. Because the weather is gorgeous, we need to include a comma here because we started with a dependent clause. We will be hiking. If we reverse it, or if we start with an independent clause, we will not need to add a comma. He finished the last question as the exam ended. Then, yeah. So now this shows you how to differentiate generally between a coordinating conjunction and a subordinating conjunction. All right. Now let's do this activity together. Join each of the clauses below to form a complex sentence in 2 ways. The first sentence here, or the first couple here, I was late. I ran. Could you please use a subordinating conjunction to join these 2 sentences and create a complex sentence in 2 different ways? Please type your 2 answers together. If you wanted, you can unmute yourself and, okay, because I was late, I ran. So therefore. Okay. Manal, let me ask you the question. Hello? Hello? No, someone is talking here, right? Okay. So do you think so is a coordinating conjunction or a subordinating conjunction? So we use so to create a compound sentence or a complex sentence. That's the question. I ran because I was late. That's perfect. Now, I ran because I was late. That's a perfect answer. Ahmed, you can see the screen. Let me reshare it again. Sorry about that. I don't know what's the problem today. Anyways. Okay. Can you see it now, Ahmed? I was late, so I ran. Okay, thank you. So I ran because I was late. This is a complex sentence. I was late, so I ran. This is a compound sentence. Because if you remember, so is one of the fanboys, and fanboys are used to create or combine sentences and make a compound sentence. We use a comma and then so, comma and, comma or, comma yet. Okay, so will not be a compound sentence, it will be a complex sentence. Because I was late, I ran. Okay, so guys, I see that all of you used because. Could we find another option, another word that can, we need to
Can
join
we say?
Yeah, go ahead. Sma-
Yes. Can I? Yes. Okay. Can I say when I was late, I ran, or I ran when I was late? But
That-
if I started, I ran,
Mhm.
comma, when I was late. Oh, sorry. No.
Mhm.
No. Vice versa. No. So I would say, when I was late, comma, I ran.
Perfect. Could you use another
Okay.
conjunction? Another word?
For a complex sentence,
Yeah, not you used ran here. Sorry, you used when here. Could you use another word? We could see that most of them use because and you used when, right?
We
Perfect.
use as, Mister.
You,
yes.
As I
It's
was
really
late, I
yes.
ran.
that's correct. So as I was late, I ran,
Yes.
and as here
Yes.
means because, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. Now that is why for Asir, if I pronounce your name correct, it should, this is not a compound sentence, this is not a complex sentence. That is why it could be preceded by a semicolon. Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Dr. Saaduni, how are you? I hope you're
Alhamdulillah
doing
Rabbil
well.
Alamin. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Forgive me for what I compelled to, but unfortunately I can't see the screen well. I think the sentence is I ran, I was late, right?
Yeah, I was late, I ran. These are two sentences, right? And
we have several connectors that we can use here, such as a result, that's why, consequently, therefore, so. All these connectors can be used here. So, for example, we can say, I was late. That's why I ran. I was late, so I ran. I was late.
I just need to cut you here because we just wanted to connect these sentences to create a complex sentence. Your answer is correct to just join them, but now we're focusing on creating a new complex sentence. So the word so, do you think so will be creating a complex sentence or a compound sentence?
Compound sentences.
Yeah, so we just focus now on creating a complex sentence from these sentences, right?
You mean using some conjunctive adverbs?
Not conjunctive adverb will result in a compound sentence. We need to use a subordinating conjunction. Subordinating conjunctions like when, unless, because, as if, okay, even though, although, right?
Well, even though, although, despite the fact that, however, all these connectors, you mean?
Yeah, these are the subordinating conjunctions, and we use them to create complex sentences. That's right, Ahmed.
Well, but here, since I think we cannot use even though or though these connectors that express the contrast or the contrast because there is cause effect. It's cause effect, right? I ran. I was late.
Okay, let me tell you one of the options, and you can think of others. You could say I was late even though I ran. So here you could see the contrast. This person ran, but they still didn't arrive early, right? Or you could say, even though I ran, I was late. It's the same sentence, but you just reverse.
Well, I got it. So we can say I was late, in spite of being in a run.
If you say in spite of,
in a hurry, in spite of,
yeah, in spite of would be followed by a gerund.
Running.
You should be running. Yeah.
Running, just running.
In spite of running, or despite of running.
That's perfect. Despite of running, or in spite of running, but this will take us to another type of sentences. We just need to make sure that we have these two complete sentences. A subject.
Yeah. In that case, we have a clause and a phrase.
Yeah, because running here will not stand as a sentence.
As a sentence, yeah.
Yeah, despite running will be a fragment, and this will be another lesson that we can discuss how to add fragments to sentences to increase the meaning. All right. Thank you, Ahmed, so much for that. Thank you. We will just give the chance for Hassan to go ahead.
Thanks a million.
Hello,
Most welcome.
doctor.
Thank you, Hassan.
Hello, doctor. Can we say that being late, I ran?
Being late, I ran. It's correct, but do you think this is a compound? Is it a complex sentence in this case?
As far as I am concerned, I know that there are 6 types of complex sentence structures, like adverbial clauses, noun clauses, adjective clauses, conditional clauses.
Perfect.
And I think it's so we can say being late, I ran. Yeah.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Am I right?
Now you're taking us to a higher level. Again, guys, you're awesome. You know lots of stuff. This course is for intermediate level.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we introduced this. Thank you so much, Hassan. If you guys are interested, we can have a bigger discussion with a higher level for advanced level, maybe. And then we can have all of these, this beautiful discussions. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you so much. We just wanted to focus on what we discussed today and how we can create complex sentences using the conjunctions we already had. Okay, thank you, Hassan.
I really sorry, but I misunderstood something.
Go ahead. Well, what's the question?
What I get is that it's related to whether the sentence convey a complete idea or not, regardless what we use to connect them together, whether we use a coordinator or subordinator. So I misunderstood that.
Okay, technically, for you to create a complex sentence, you will have a dependent clause, okay, which has one of the subordinating conjunctions in it as a part of it, and an independent clause, okay? And then you put
I'm really sorry. Is it necessary for the dependent clause to include a coordinator?
A subordinator.
A subordinator.
Generally speaking, yeah. Generally speaking, a dependent clause has a subordinating conjunction, and that what makes it dependent. So imagine, and when is the easiest example. So if imagine you have the word when in the beginning of any sentence, it will make it a dependent clause. When I was late, when I ran, when I was eating, okay? Then you still wait for a completion, right? You will wait for something to complete the meaning. So use the word when as a model and add it to any word. Then this will be the dependent clause, okay? And this sentence will need an independent clause or a complete sentence to have a complete meaning.
Yeah. Now I get it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Dr. Saadouni.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sorry to bargain, but can we say I ran whenever I was late?
I ran whenever I was late. That's
right.
that's a good one. Yeah, I ran whenever I was late. Perfect.
For the question of my sister, we can simply say, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, dependent clause means the clause that can't stand alone.
Perfect.
Simply.
That's perfect. A clause that can't stand alone, although it has a subject and a verb. Generally.
Yeah, thanks a million.
All right, thank you so much, Ahmed. Huda, do you have? Thank you. Huda, you have something to add here? Okay, so let me read.
Good evening, doctor. Good evening.
Good evening, Mohammed. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you are welcome, doctor. Okay, I think we can use since that means because.
Since means because. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so, it's solely. Thanks. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. That's correct. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Now, looking at the sentence, the answers we have here, we have I was late, so I ran. This is a compound sentence. Because I was late, I ran. That is a complex sentence. Both of them are dependent. I didn't catch what we're talking about here. Anyways, I was late. That is why I ran. That is why generally is used to create compound sentences. Use a semicolon before that is why. Or and that is why I was that is why I ran. in case please, if you don't mind, just write the full sentence to be easier for me to read it out. You pronounce the name correctly. Okay. While I was okay, Asir, that's okay. Perfect. Thank you. While I was eating, the telephone rang. Perfect. This is the second sentence. Thank you. That's correct. In case I was late, I would run. In case, if I was, okay, that's perfect. I cannot get it. Which one? I think we answered this question. I was late, so I ran. That's a compound sentence. While I was eating, the phone rang. That's correct. Being late, I ran. We discussed this, Hassan, already. Can we use so that? Okay. If you look at the punctuation, Asir, it will tell you if this is a compound or a complex sentence. And this is a question for you for next time. Despite I ran, I was late. That's right. Unless I ran, I would be late. That's right. We can say one, I was late, although I ran. I was late, although I ran. It's right. As soon as. Is this the second sentence, Hassan? So I think you're talking about the second sentence here, right? All right. You got wonderful answers, actually. And that's why I'm giving you a task to do at home, inshallah, because we're out of time. It's 11. I don't know what time it's in Cairo now. I think it's 10:30. It's 3:30 here. While I was eating, the telephone rang. That's perfect. So I'll post Manny. Which sentence, Manny? Could you please speak up? I was late, therefore I ran. So because you added a semicolon and then a comma, this means that these two sentences are independent. I was late, I ran. In this case, this is a compound sentence, not a complex sentence. While I was eating, the telephone rang. That is correct. That's a complex sentence. All right, guys, we will stop here. You have wonderful answers and you have wonderful information. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas and sharing your answers today. I really appreciate it. I'm really super happy that you guys participated, and we got many people who got strong background in grammar and strong background in sentence structure. That's really wonderful. I just like to end the class today now because we know people need to leave. People need to sleep. Classes from a different countries, so that's super late for them. Thank you so much for your time, and I see you inshallah next time. And enjoy your night, enjoy your evening. Assalamu alaikum.